Hey everyone, here is my introductory video. I'm Rosie Cornell and I'm a lawyer. Shh, don't tell anyone. I was a client before I was a lawyer, and the reason that I started this channel and why I've started a blog to go along with the channel and, hoping to do a few different things with it. And the reason is because most people are like me, like, had no idea what we were facing when we needed a lawyer. I had no idea where to look. And then I remembered that my brother's friend was a barrister, so I phoned him. He recommended a lawyer, and we kind of set off from there. Our experience was absolutely horrendous. We were victims of fraud. We had all of the evidence to prove the fraud. Fraud wasn't raised in our case for various matters. It's a long-winded story. I'm not going to go into it here. But my heart through all of this has been to help other people. And we decided to sue the bank for damages. We were, defrauded by our bank, which in Australia, nothing strange, nothing to see here, happens all the time. Not that you'd know it from the Royal Commission, but you probably do. Anyway, we sued the bank for damages and they settled the matter out of court. And I was finishing another degree at the time where I'd always been really interested in this other field. And then I thought, I just can't understand how we lost. How did we lose this case? What could we have done better? And so after we settled everything, I applied to do my legal degree through Charles Darwin University. And that's in Darwin, just in case you're wondering. I completed my degree online in 2.5 years with honours. Hubby and I had this discussion, and he said, yeah, look, just concentrate on getting it done, because that's obviously what you want to do. And when I first started, I did not want to become a lawyer. I just wanted to know, how did they do that and then blog about it forever? And of course, I couldn't continue my old blog because, I just didn't really want to. It was like I needed to concentrate on actually learning the law rather than staying in the past. And I tend to do that. I concentrate on the moment, what I have to do, and look to the future. I'm hesitant to always look in the past, even though we have to look in the past to avoid future mistakes. So about 6 months out from my degree, I'm sort of thinking, well, what am I going to do with it? I envisioned going to work for a mining company or someone and being in-house counsel. But then I thought, I really want to help people. I want to help others like me who've got no idea what to do with it. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's a driving offence or whatever, it's a big deal when suddenly you have to deal with lawyers, courts, and So the approach I took was, I best see about getting admitted. So I hadn't really thought about it much until I think it was when I was doing the professional responsibility unit, where I thought, I can do this. I can be a lawyer and I can help people. And, I was admitted to the role of practitioners in 2017, and I've had a bit of a checkered work history, which leaves me still restricted at the moment because I was working part-time or not at all. And I'm back at work and I'm working from home because my boss is actually in Queensland, which I find really interesting. So he is coming over shortly to do the face-to-face stuff that you have to do. But we talk every day, so plenty of supervision happening. It's certainly interesting having a lot more meetings where we talk through the law and really nut things out. my job now, even though I'm working from home, is much more what I thought being a lawyer was like than my other work. And it's just because I'm aligned with people who have the same thoughts that I do. But, all things being equal, you still have to, earn a living and do things. And a lot of the clients that we see, they have to find the money to pay for their legal fees. And so often we give them hints on how to save money on legal fees and, what they can do to help themselves and what they can do to show us what information they have, whether it comes up to the standards of evidence for the courts and, whether they've even got something that's worth going to court over. So you've got something to fight for, but how do you figure out how to do it? So I sort of thought, well, part of this can be actually talking to people who are either having to self-represent because they don't know what else they can do, or, they just want to know how the law works in Australia so that if something comes up, they know what to do. So that's what this channel's all about. And, I'll probably end up getting onto locals and a few other places where I can just build a community and have that backwards and forwards, have a bit of a conversation. I'm not sure how YouTube goes for a conversation, but I know that other YouTube channels that I've had before, sometimes you can kind of get lost with the comments. It's hard to do back and fro, but then you watch some of the bigger channels, which, it'd be nice to get there, but I can't see it happening. And you're sort of thinking, well, how do they, how can you possibly deal with that many messages? And there's been some hilarious things happening with some of the American law tubers, which I've really enjoyed sitting back and watching it. So I hope to make this a bit more entertaining rather than just, black and white law. This isn't a lecture series. This isn't anything other than, this bit here annoys me, and this is the reason it annoys me, and this is what I think we could do about it. So that's what I want to do. I just want to, figure things out. And of course, I've been a little bit triggered over the last few months over some decisions being handed down in certain forums. So I want to do a bit of, case analysis and what I think. I absolutely think that these decisions are wrong. And they're, possibly wrong because there's a political reason behind it. And, I was always under the impression that there is a separation of powers. So is there a separation of powers? That's a really interesting conversation that I wouldn't mind having with a few other lawyers. So I'm hoping to have guest speakers on and, do a few lives when I get around to it. Just to, do it because it sounds like fun. But, all in all, there's ways of getting bogged down and there's ways of moving forward, and I would love to be able to help people to just stop flapping about the place. Get over all of the nerves and all of the issues and talk them through the issues so that they have a lot more confidence in what they're doing, especially self-represented litigants who might not really have much of an idea about anything. And I mean, I have so much respect for a few of them that I've met personally. It's like they are so spot on. They know the law, that they know how to argue, they know that everything's connected. And then there's the other self-represented litigants who fall into, some of the more spurious arguments where you're sort of there. It doesn't really assist you. If it doesn't help you, let it go. So I'd like to talk to about some of that. And just the last thing that I really want to cover off on, and this is the biggest thing, so I probably should have led with all of this, but well, new to this, I'll get it all together one day. This is never legal advice. You can't get legal advice from a YouTuber or someone on Rumble or, anywhere. if we're online talking the law, it is not legal advice. You do not form a relationship with the lawyer you're listening to. This is any of them, and especially me. That's because no lawyer can give you advice unless they know your circumstances with your evidence, and everybody's case is different. So when lawyers say, this case was on point for your matter, that means that there's a critical bit where it sounds like that is exactly what happened to you. But of course, the circumstances are different, but it can still be used. It's a good case. There's lots of other legal arguments that go with it, but a lawyer knows what they're doing. A lot of self-represented litigants know what they're doing, so it's all good. And the second thing I need to really be upfront about is this is my For Fun Law channel. This is where I try to explain the law to you. And when I did my law degree, it was pounded into us plain English. Don't use legalese. It's all plain English. And me, I love plain English. I embrace that with a vengeance. I am not going to sound like a lawyer on here. That doesn't mean that I don't know what I'm talking about. That just means I'm not going to use the legal language. I don't have to actually use the legal language here. I am not going to write any submissions for anybody on here. And, just because I know the legal terms doesn't mean I have to throw them out at you, unless we're doing a video on what the legal terms mean. And we'll still be having fun with that, especially when it comes to the use of the word solicitor, which, does have a special meaning. And, just in closing, because I was a client before I became a lawyer, I've told most of the lawyer jokes, and our lawyer joke between my husband and I is that, my husband really hates lawyers, and he really does. So you can imagine how happy he is. He loves life. He does. He's happy to be married to a lawyer. Trust me, I'm a lawyer. Yeah, okay. I thought I'd throw it in. It doesn't matter. Anyway, that's the introduction. It's just about, going through what's happening in the law, whether I agree with it or not, and why I don't agree with it if I don't, and why I sort of think, I've learned something new, because you always learn something new. Come on the journey with me. I'm hoping to cover a few things. I would really love to be able to do doing a live coverage, but in Australia that doesn't work because you can't cover a live trial because you're not allowed to. They don't actually have cameras in the court as such, so it's not like the American setup where they've allowed public viewing of it. Even if they're broadcasting it, it's still the court broadcasting it, and they own everything, and they don't want these recordings to be out in the wild later. So I would like them to embrace this idea that, Australian lawyers could literally sit in a trial all day and give a running commentary and go, oh my God, would you look at that? Did not see that coming. But of course we can't do it because, we're all dignified. All lawyers are very, very dignified. We are. And we're all human, which is probably the biggest thing that I want to deal with because, we're not, I don't know, some people have this idea that you're a bit more special if you are a certain profession, and it doesn't matter what the profession is. There are certain professions that get a bit of preferential treatment, and it always feels odd to me, always did. That hasn't changed much. But yeah, so it's all about having fun, and again, no legal advice to be had here, sorry. I do want to give lots of hints and explain things, but it's not a lecture series. I have watched the Jordan Peterson lecture series where he has recorded his lectures and put them up. Absolutely brilliant. Love listening to those lectures. This isn't that. This is just me talking, and hopefully it's me with guests talking where we spitball about different ideas. And you know, sometimes the way that you learn the law is by talking about it. And I will often start with a certain preposition, and then we talk about it and different legal arguments, and then suddenly you go, but hang on a minute, if we're doing this act says, so is this still valid? And you know, I want to talk about the controversial cases. Like there was a case of I think it was a car manufacturing company, some company was got into trouble in Australia by following the law. They absolutely followed the letter of the law. The problem is that by following the letter of that particular law, they broke another law. And I always thought that, you know, the court would have to say, well, you know, they were in a bind. Well, which law do you follow? But if you don't know that you're in breach of another law, is that really a defence? So, you know, it's all interesting. So I'd love to have a few lawyers on to talk about that, because that's kind of the situation we find ourselves in at the moment, where if we follow one law, we are breaking a whole lot of others. So let's talk about it, and I hope to see you around. Probably went too long with my introduction, but there you go. Once I start talking, hard to stop me. Lots of people will confirm. Yeah, brevity. I must learn brevity. Have a great day, and I'll see you around. Gotcha.